private international law, and I will give example of case from private international. Okay, I will start with a history of private international law. History of the development of private international law. In the history of the development, the content of trade uh, with foreigners who give birth to this legal principle. And ancient Roman times, all the problem that arose as a result of the relationship between the Romans and foreign traders were then continued by special court judges called praetor praetorians. The law used by the judge in fact is the law applicable to Roman cases, namely ius civil, which has been adapted for international relations and is then called ius gentium. Like ius civil, ius gentium also contain rules which can be categorized into ius privatum and ius publicum. Ius gentium, which became part of the privatum, which developed into private international law. Meanwhile, ius gentium, which is part of ius publicum, has developed into public international law. Okay, to resolve the disputes in the relationship, a special judiciary was established called Praetor Praetorians. Basically, the law made for the Roman civis as civil was adapted for the needs of international association, which later developed into Ius Gentium. Ius Gentium 2 point. Ius Privatum, the meaning legal issues of individuals. Ius Privatum being the foreigner of a pay that developed in the tradition of continental European law. Point two, ius publicum. Ius publicum, the meaning regulates the issues of the state or the third authority as a public power. Ius publicum developed into a set of principles and legal methods governing the relationship between the Roman Empire and other countries. The current principle of private international law is based on territorial principle. Some principles of private international law that developed at this time and become important principles in modern private international law include and one lex reciti or lexitus. The meaning matter conquering immovable are subject to the laws of the palace in which they are location. Two, lex domicili, establishing the rights and obligation of an individual must be determined by law from where a person is in permanent residence. And three, lex loci contractus, establish that agreement involving from different regions apply to the law from the cause of making of the agreement. Prehistory of the development of private international law. And one growth separate of personal private international law. International law 6 until 10th century. In the late 6th century, the Roman Empire was conquered by the barbarians of the former Roman colony. The former Roman territories were occupied by various ethnic groups that were genetically and non-territorially distinguished. In resolving disputes between ethnic groups, it is determined first with customary legal system and for growing some private international law principle made on the basis of the genealogical principle and two territorial based growth 11 until 12th century. Northern Europe and Southern Europe. Northern Europe is feudalistic and Southern Europe trade center. Feudalistic landlords absence of foreign strike, Hawaii does not develop. Or trade center, autonomous city and local law and territorial principle. Three, growth, growth, growth theory status in Italy 13 until 15th century. The idea of excursus on the basis of the state. If a person who feels from a particular city in Italy is sweet in another city, then he cannot be prosecuted under the law of the other city, for he is not the subject of law that other city. The statutes of a city can be classified into three groups. One statuta personalia, two statuta realia, and three statuta mixta. And universal private international law theory, the originator of universal private international law theory is Friedrich Karl F. Savigny in Germany. Use the concept of a legal seat on the assumption that for any type of legal relationship it can be determined legal seat or place of legal standing by looking at the nature of the relationship. When determining the rule of law that shall be enforced, the judge is obligated to determine the legal seat of the relationship. The way by localizing the balance of legal position and legal relationship with the help of the points of link. When the legal position of type of legal relationship can be determined, then legal system of the bells in use as excuse. Point 1. Once the bells of the law is located, a universal legal basis can be established that can be used to determine the applicable law. Case Statute of France. The case qualifies as a statute of personal lex cause English. Statute of France. The case qualifies as a statute of realia. Lex cause Indonesia. Private international law universal. Link point. defendant citizenship, plaintiff citizenship, place of covenant making, and then legal seat like Kaus Indonesia. The role or benefits of private international law. The development of private international law is based on the reality of coexistence of various legal systems in the world as effectively as possible. Every lawmaker in a country essentially establish laws in accordance with needs or situation in their country. But sometimes even occur law that indicate a link or relevance to more than the legal system of the states. If the existing reality is associated with private international law material, there will always be certain problems that become the main problem in studying private international law, namely, which judges or judicial bodies are authorized to resolve judicial issues containing foreign elements, and to which laws shall be enforced to regulate or resolving judicial issues containing foreign elements, and three, when or to what extent a court shall take into account and recognize the rights or obligation of the law issues under the law or the decision of the foreign judge. Okay, what is private international law? Private international law, the regulates private relationship concerning foreign elements or crossing the territory of the state. Foreign elements or cross the territory of the state may be related to the subject, object or location of the manufacture or execution of legal acts. Relates to the subject, for example, legal relationship conduct, conducted by those of different nationalities or domicile. Relate to the object, for example, the object of the agreement is abroad. Relate to the creation and implementation of legal action, such as a legal action made or carried out abroad. There are four kinds of legal option in international law. The name first of a free legal choice in which the clause of the contract there is a firmly states legal choice. For example, this contract shall be governed by the laws of the Republic of Indonesia. From this clause, it is clearly seen that the legal choice of the parties is the law of the Indonesian state. Two, tacit choice of law. In this, in this type of law, the parties choose the law that applies secretly. The intention of the party regarding such legal option is inferred from their attitude, content, and form of the agreement. Three, legal options are considered or so-called presumptio juris. The judge skip their head with a legal choice based on mere legal allegation. And four, hypothetical legal option. Here there is actually not one listing of the parties to choice option, it is judge choose the law. Private international law, there are several theories of legal option in private international law that can be used, like logical contractus theory. Contract is determined by the law under which the contract was made, in which it was created, was born. And two, lex loci solution theory. Legal options are determined from the files where the contract is executed. This theory is used to determine the legal consequence of an agreement. And three, the proper law of the contract theory. Legal choice is determined by the intention of the party, so judging by the intention of the parties which law will be applied. And then the most characteristic connection. Choice is based on which state's law, so characteristic connection shall look for become the center of gravity of the contract. Connecting factor in private international law. One, domicile, lex domicile, habitual residence, nationality, lex patriae, lex loci celebration, choice of law clause from selection clause, lex loci arbitrary, lexitus, lex loci contractus, lex loci solution is proper law. The meaning lexitus, the law under which the property is location. Lex fori, the meaning, the law under which it shall apply. Lex cause, the law under which the venue is held. Lex loci actus, place at the time of making a transaction. Lex loci contractus, where the agreement was implemented. Rainfall, moving the case to where lexitus is location. Lex loci community, the place where the loss occurred. Lex loci damni, the law by which the accident occurred. Lex loci solution has meaning the place where the deal was done. Lex loci arbitrary, meaning where to the administration. Jurisdiction of forum, meaning determine which courts to decide their issues. Enforcement of foreign judgment, meaning jurisdiction from different countries. Forum non-convention, forum non-convenient, forum that are not suitable for rainfall for fear of not being strong enough to carry out its law. Forum shopping, the selection of the law where it is most favorable for the plaintiff and facilitate the judicial side. Connection factor in private international law, incidental question. Incidental question is once a court has decided whether or not it has jurisdiction to hear the matter, it proceeds to characterize the cause of action. There are three questions to incidental question. A. Whether the court has to jurisdiction or not. B. What is the legal issue? And then first example connection in private international law. Mr. Amane is married to Miss Yoshiro with Russian citizenship and have marriage is Russia. Mr. Sukasa is a Japanese citizen based in Europe doing a household agreement, which is in Europe. Mr. Amane and Mr. Sukasa communicated to make a deal in America when Mr. Ramane is located. On Saturday, Mr. Sukasa traveled to America to carry out the contractual agreement. In the United States, Mr. Amane met Mr. Sukasa and performed the contract and finish. The Mr. Sukasa and performed the contract and finish. The Mr. Sukasa traveled to China where he had an accident and died while trying out the agreement. Mr. Sukasa and Mrs. Amane full transaction full transaction where Mr. Sukasa lived but Mr. Sukasa had died. Mr. Amane wanted to check the house that had been signed by them, but Mr. Sukasa's wife, Mrs. Miss Nene, refused it because her husband didn't say if how her husband didn't say if her house was sold by her husband. Then Miss Nene filed a lawsuit. Where will Miss Nene file charge? A moment after the earthquake, possession occurred at Miss Nene house and suffered damage. Okay, sure. Mr. Sukasa and Miss Amane married in Russia. Okay, nationality. Mr. Sukasa Rusia and nationality Miss Amane Russia. So, Mr. Sukasa lacks domicile and Miss Shiro Amane is America. Losi Electric Committee, where the loss occurred is in Europe because of earthquake. And Mr. Sukasa and Miss Nene didn't know. So, Mr. Sukasa, okay, the answer, and Miss Shiro Amane is America. Losi Electric Committee, where the loss occurred is in Europe because of earthquake. And Mr. Sukasa and Miss Nene didn't know. So, Mr. Sukasa, okay, the answer, Mr. Amane and Miss Yoshiro nationality is Russia. Like domicile Mr. Amane and Miss Yoshiro is America. Mr. Amane and Miss Yashiro married in Russia. Like Locidality Commission, where, is, where the loss occur is in Europe because of earthquake. And Lex nationality Mr. Sukasa is Japanese and Miss Nene didn't know. Lex domisili Mr. Sukasa and Miss Nene is Europa. Mr. Sukasa died in China. Lexitus is in Europe. Explosi Contractus is in America. Explosi Solutions is in America. Explosi Damni where accident heaven is that Mr. Sukasa died is China. Lex 40 law that sold every or Europe due to the location of dispute goods in Europe. Then Miss Nene filed a lawsuit where will Miss Nene file charge incidental question. Miss Nene, if she wants to make a claim, can be directly across Europe because the cause where Miss Nene is domiciled and where the goods are located.